Yes.
I saw a lot of things this morning. Actually, I do this first.
Oh, Coach Rod, did you get my semester exam?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I finished it on Friday.
Appreciate it. Hey, this worked for like 10 minutes. What's going on? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Russian threat to Ukraine could push Finland and Sweden to join NATO. Russia's military buildup along its border with Ukraine and the hostile rhetoric coming out of Moscow is making some of its regional neighbors rethink long-held post-World War II security arrangements. Recent pronouncements coming from Finland and Sweden suggest the two countries are now more open to joining the North Atlantic Treaty Organization and will not back down in the face of threats from Russian President Vladimir Putin. NATO is putting a lot of troops around Ukraine. The Baltic states, which are the countries, there's Finland, Sweden, and then the water curves around, there's Russia right there. Russia's here. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. Anyway, these are all former Soviet Union countries. And they're always big. They were the first ones to join in with America after September 11th because they believe in freedom. They know what it's like not to have it. All those countries are nervous with how Russia's acting. Biden is considering sending 3,000 to 5,000 troops in to help with the NATO deal. Advisors presented Biden with various options to respond to Russia's aggressive stance in Eastern Europe. In a Sunday briefing at Camp David, the president is considering sending 3,000 to 5,000 U.S. troops to Romania, into Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia as part of a broader NATO effort. Other NATO countries may also contribute troops to warn Russian President Vladimir Putin not to try to move into neighboring countries. And the State Department issues a, quote, "do not travel" warning for Ukraine, as embassy staff is told to leave. U.S. citizens in Ukraine should be aware that Russian military action anywhere in Ukraine could severely impact the U.S. Embassy's ability to provide services, including assistance to U.S. citizens in departing Ukraine. They said travel advisory that eligible family members are being ordered to leave the country. U.S. citizens in Ukraine should consider leaving the country. So, it's not backing down as of now. I don't know what's going to happen. And China. China flies dozens of warplanes near Taiwan. The launch came the same day the U.S. Navy sailed 2 aircraft carriers and 2 amphibious assault ships alongside allies in the Philippine Sea. I'm going to show you a little history of China. We're going to do this in a couple of weeks. Don't write any of this down. You'll forget it by the time we get to it, so I'm not scared about doing this. 1940s. What happened in the 40s? (1940s). World War II. Okay, 45, World War II ends. I don't know exactly when it started, but 1949 was the Communist Revolution in China. The leader of the Communists was Mao Zedong. Okay, that's good. This will explain why we're sending warships around Taiwan. Mao Zedong, actually Chinese, it's Mao Zedong or something crazy like that. I call him Mao Zedong. He's the bad guy because he was communist. Okay? The leader of China was Chiang Kai-shek. And we write CKS in here because his name is Chiang Kai-shek. We're going to call him Chicken Fried Steak. Bailey, if I said, hey, I want to buy you a chicken fried steak, would you be mad at me? Really? Why did I say Bailey? Would you be mad at me if I said I'm gonna buy you chicken fried steak? No, because chicken fried steak is good. So chicken fried steak is good. I don't know if he was good, but we know he's not communist. So obviously he's the quote good guy here. He probably was a piece of crap ruler and did a horrible job, but we don't know. He got his tail kicked, and him and his people fled to Taiwan. We did not recognize China. There was no diplomatic recognition of China. We recognized, when we said China, we were talking about Taiwan. Okay, so we have connections with Taiwan. 1970s, we normalize relations and we give diplomatic recognition to China.
The actual China?
Yes. And we still told Taiwan, we'll help you out if they ever attack you. And that's why America and China keep walking through the hallways, blowing their chest up, hoping to bump into each other at some point. We haven't bumped into each other yet. At some point, we'll bump into each other and have to figure out what to do. So that's what's going on in China. Or, yeah, Taiwan and China.
In the land of China.
All right. We're going to say whenever we get done with these two, we're done. You're supposed to do it. OPEC. Y'all haven't heard of OPEC before, but you will. You'll hear of it every once in a while. OPEC is the oil producing and exporting countries. Now, Friday, was that little video, was that, it had a lot of good information in it. It was weird, but did you learn some stuff from it? About what was our history with Iran? What did America do when it comes to Iran from the 40s through the 70s? We helped them, or we helped ourselves to them? And we put in governments, forced governments on them that benefited us. All right? Who was in control of Iranian oil fields? Not Iran. Different oil companies in America and England and British Petroleum and Exxon and all that. That's who controlled Iranian oil fields. Was that right? Would we like that happening in here? No. OPEC was where these Middle Eastern countries, okay, ME is Middle Eastern, took control of their own oil. The resources from their country, they took control of that. Is there anything wrong with that? No. Did we like it? We didn't like it at all. In the this is 1960s, 1970s. In the 1970s, like 73, 74, gas went from like 40 to 50 cents a gallon to $1 a gallon. Not overnight, but pretty quick. Pretty quick. Cars, you have to write this in. Cars were like $4,000 back then. Houses were like $35,000. Right now, the price of gas should be between $2.50 and $3 to match up with this. Does that make sense? For so long, it stayed the same. For like 20 years, it stayed like $1 something a gallon. Through 90, all my time driving is 80 cents to $1. And when it ever got close to $1, everybody started freaking out. This would be like if you woke up tomorrow and gas was what, $6 a gallon. It crippled America. Detroit made cars that got 5 to 6 miles per gallon. There wasn't any small cars. After that, everybody started buying Toyotas and Nissans and all these, and Detroit started making smaller cars, but we weren't ready for something like this. And this really crippled our economy. So we were not fans of OPEC. But was this really the right thing to do for them? Yeah, it really was. Now with Iran, in the 1970s, I'm gonna say 1979. I'm going to say this. 1979, there was a revolution. I remember everything that happened after November of 1979. I'm familiar with things that happened before that because I remember seeing the news. Remember the picture that was the big bridge and there was just people everywhere. They're all holding signs and stuff. They had these protests all the time. And just hundreds of thousands of people marching through the streets. Tehran is the capital of Iran. The Shah got kicked out. I don't remember gunshots. I don't remember a war. But I know the Shah got kicked out. And there were protests. What's that? The Shah? That was the monarch. Remember the leader we put in place? They showed on the video Friday. You were Friday?
I was here. I slept since then.
Well, the Shah was the monarch. Kind of like the dictator. This guy named Ayatollah, what's in his name? Ayatollah Khomeini. That's why I misspelled. He was like a Muslim pope. It's not really right, but that kind of describes it. Muslim pope. He had been kicked out in the 1960s. Why do you think the Shah kicked him out? He was preaching and working the people up against him. Because the people of Iran were fundamentalist Islamic people. So what was the Shah trying to do to Iran? What was he trying to make it like? America. And this Western culture was completely against everything they believed in. So they didn't want to be American, they wanted to be Iranian, they wanted to be Persian, they wanted their culture. And so when he came back, they kicked the Shah out, and now he takes over. Now he didn't take over like a dictator. He took over as the godfather in the Italian restaurant that's sitting at his little table and telling everybody what to do. So he's in the shadows. He'd come out and give speeches every once in a while, but he was controlling things, not...
He was the puppet master.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Now in October of 79, the Shah, he didn't get cancer in October, but he had cancer. And he asked America, could I come to America for treatment? We'd used the Shah for a long time. And he was kind of in this position because of us. So America, he came to the U.S. for treatment. Well, we thought about it. Because the people were marching through the streets with death to the Shah, death to America. So we know this isn't a good thing. We allowed him to come in for treatment. That is what threw the Iranians over the edge. The people were furious. Why would they be furious about that? What was our history? What did they think was going to happen?
We're going to force.
We're going to put him back in power. We're going to get him healthy and then put him back in. So they're going nuts. He died pretty soon after he came to the United States. They wanted to execute him. They wanted to punish him for what he had done to them. And we took him in, and then he died. Then they were really mad because they can't kill him. It'd be like some criminal that did something to you or your family, and they're in a foreign country and they get them, but then they can't come to the U.S. for trial. Okay, but times a million. So November, college students. Take over the U.S. Embassy. Took over the U.S. Embassy. We're still working here.
Right.
What does that mean if someone takes over or does something to our embassy? That's America. They've invaded America. This is what I don't know about here. I was 12 or 13, so. Also, this is right during the middle of football season and the World Series just happened, so I'm not focused on this. I don't know how many guns they had. I don't know of anybody getting killed. Kind of like the Ukraine where we told people to go home, everybody leave, it's a bad place. I think a lot of Americans have gone home and there was just a little skeleton crew there in the embassy working. And they didn't have the security they needed. I hate to look back and tell people you're an idiot. People marching through the streets with death to America, I would probably either bring everybody out or put a lot of security around the embassy. But anyway, college students were able to take it over without, I think, killing anybody. And maybe not any guns, maybe a couple guns, I'm not sure. They take over our embassy, they hold 52 people for 444 days. And like I said Friday, I think, 13-year-old Johnny Ryle can't understand how college students from a pipsqueak country can do this with us doing nothing about it. The rescue attempt didn't work, the helicopters crashed. And it kind of was an accident. They didn't mean for this to happen. They just kind of went and did it, and then, like, wow, what do we do now? We didn't have a plan. They just said, let's go try this. And so they held them on Inauguration Day of 1981. They released them to embarrass Carter, but also to scare Reagan, what Reagan might do. This is why we don't have an embassy in Iran anymore. This is why we don't have diplomatic recognition of Iran. So, did the people have a point? They did. We used them. We treated them like crap. We imposed our government on them. We kicked their elected leaders out and put our own people, not our people, but the people we want. And we like Israel, so those are two reasons for Iran to hate us. Okay, apartheid. That's how you see. You don't say apartheid. That language is actually Afrikaner, which is a Dutch language. Look up a picture of Johannesburg. Go to Johannesburg and look up images of Johannesburg. That is the capital of South Africa. What does Johannesburg look like? Like an American city. If you saw that, would you think that's an American city? It's modern, big buildings, highways. It's not a backward third world country.
Hey, where'd you say it was at?
South Africa.
Yeah, that's not right.
It has money. South Africa had resources. They had diamonds. They had gold. Why would the Dutch set up a colony in South Africa? Because they had diamonds and gold, and they could make a lot of money there. So they set up this it wasn't the government, it was Alabama in 1932. Would you want to live there if you were black?
No.
No. Now, if you had a choice between Alabama and South Africa, you'd pick Alabama and smile going there. You'd be happy about going to Alabama in 1932. The system of apartheid there's a word in apartheid. The word is apart. It wasn't just, a lot of southern cities, there was, you better be out of town by 6 o'clock. time night falls, you better get out of town. In South Africa, you better not be in town. Ever. The complete separation of the races. And you had these modern cities, and then a couple miles outside of town, there would be where the natives lived there, and it was cardboard shacks with dirt floors, just the complete opposite of what the cities look like. In 1962, a guy named Nelson Mandela, who is the Martin Luther King Jr. of South Africa, he was protesting. He was fighting this apartheid stuff. He gets arrested and thrown in jail for treason. That was the charge. They didn't kill him. Did he go to jail for doing anything wrong? No. He went to jail for doing right. Now, if I kill somebody and go to jail, I might not like it, but I deserve it. And I guess my mind can at least, you did this, so this is what you get. There's consequences. He didn't do anything, but he was getting these consequences for it. We jump to the 1980s. When I was in high school, college, free Mandela was a thing. And the world got sick of this. And so they imposed economic sanctions. What is economic sanctions? We did that a couple days ago. What's economic sanctions? No, you can help. We're not buying your stuff. You can't sell to us. We're not selling you things. We're not buying you things. And based on the picture of Johannesburg, would that be bad for them? No. They like stuff, right? They need money. If they can't sell their stuff, and most of the world joined in. So we really kind of shut South Africa out. And it didn't take long, just a couple of years of these economic sanctions, to where in 1990, apartheid was over. So the separation of the races was done. And they release Nelson Mandela from prison. If you were Nelson Mandela, if I was Nelson Mandela, and you're in jail for almost 30 years, you think they treated him pretty good in jail? No. He didn't die. How would you come out? What would you be like when you came out? I'd be ticked. And I would probably go on I would probably punch as many white folks as I can find. I might even kill a few. You get what he came out smiling. He came out talking about unity and rebuilding a new South Africa. And he's one of the greatest men to ever live. In 1992, he was elected president of South Africa. Who's he like in history? He never got elected president. He is like, okay, who else is he? Who's he really like now? He gets elected president. Was it possible for him to be elected president, really? No. Who else did something like that? Waged an unbeatable battle and ended up being president of a new country. George Washington. He's just like George Washington. Although he killed a lot less people. There's a movie called Invictus. I don't know how old it is. It's not brand new. It's pretty old. It's about the South African, I think, rugby team. But Morgan Freeman plays Nelson Mandela, and it shows, it's pretty soon after this, how he worked to unify and bring people together and stuff. It's a pretty good movie if you ever have a chance.
Morgan Freeman plays Nelson?
Yes.
That is not surprising. It doesn't surprise me that Morgan Freeman
Now, do you remember Coach Broussard? Some of y'all do, some of y'all weren't. He was best friends with Nelson Mandela. I don't understand this. When me and little Christy got married, we had nothing. We didn't have groceries the next week. We never went on a honeymoon because that cost money. I even wrote a hot check to the preacher. I didn't know you were supposed to pay a preacher. My dad was a preacher. I just thought that was a part of the gig. You know, if you're a preacher and people's in your church, you marry him. The best man said, "Hey, did you pay Brother Jordan yet?" I said, "Pay him?" He goes, "Yeah, you gotta pay him." I said, "Well, crap, I didn't know that." So I wrote a $25 hot check. I didn't have anything in the bank. It was the 20th. We were going to get paid the 25th. So anyway, his brother had this wedding at one of these Caribbean islands. How they eat the next week, I don't know. But they flew everybody to this island, and they had the wedding there. Well, Coach Broussard's walking around this hotel. He's looking for ice. He turns the corner, and there's two huge guys in suits standing like this. And they said, "What are you doing here?" He goes, "I'm just getting ice." They said, "No, you're not. Go that way." So he turns around and goes back. Next day, he gets in the elevator, and two guys in suits are standing like that, and Nelson Mandela is standing behind him. So he rode the elevator with Nelson Mandela. So, pretty much best friends. All right. We're going to have a quiz tomorrow over to those two foreign policy questions. See what this guy looks like. I'll tell you what you need to look up. Look up Nelson Mandela funeral.